Normally here on Erudite Magic, I'm bringing you some kind of bigger, well-known book that everyone really wants to know about, but today I'm taking a slightly different tack. I'm bringing you a smaller book, one that's kind of flown under the radar for many, but one that I've read recently and wanted to share. The book is Monochrome, Shadows of Deception by Luca Volpe. Luca reached out to me a few weeks ago and asked me if I would be interested in getting a review copy of his latest book. Maybe like you, I've heard a lot about his magic, I've seen his name around, but never actually studied it, so I said yes. And now that I've had a chance to digest the book, here we are. So what is the book? It is a self-published softbound with a little over 180 pages of material. There are 15 original effects by Luca himself, and then he's also gotten 9 routines from some of his friends that are contributed toward the back of the book. There are also a couple of essays. Obviously, you want to know if this book is for you, so let's dive into some of the details and discuss. First of all, what's the significance of monochrome? The vibe of the book, at least from the cover, is a black and white style, and when you read the introduction, you'll understand that Luca himself is into photography as well as magic and mentalism. He even shares in an essay what he believes the similarities between the two arts are and how one draws inspiration from the other in his life. Throughout the book, he's shared a bunch of black and white images that don't necessarily have anything to do with the magic, but some of his favorite pictures from when he was traveling the world, with the thought that inspiration can come from just about anywhere. Now, while Luca is pretty well known, I think, in most circles as a mentalist, this book, while it probably is more of a mentalism type book, I would suggest that you would probably be interested whether you are a magician or a mentalist, as long as you're comfortable presenting some mind reading type material. Some of the tricks in here are straight up mind reading, but there are quite a few that aren't. Things like card tricks, ways to force cards. There's even a pseudo-psychometry routine using what people like to eat, which gives a lot of interesting presentational aspects to an otherwise straightforward, you wrote this, you wrote this, you wrote this. While there are some more or less straight up magic pieces included in here, on the flip side of that, there are also a couple of routines that are far more esoteric in the mentalism style. For example, a Q&A type routine that has you giving readings based on a photograph that individuals choose. That part isn't going to play for you if you're not that style of psychic reader, but there's still plenty to choose from here, and it's quite a variety. There are even a couple pieces in here that would work quite well in a wedding context or engagement party or something where you have a couple. I want to provide them with something memorable. In terms of the context in which you can perform this, as you might have guessed, there's a mixture of close-up, parlor, or even stage pieces. I think most of this material would feel pretty comfortable in a living room type environment, so whether that's at your home or someone else's home, or even in a small venue. A lot of these tricks could be either dressed down to play for smaller audiences or dressed up to play for a much larger venue. And in terms of the skill that you'll need, I didn't personally get the sense that any of this was particularly difficult. From a technical standpoint, the methods are fairly simple, so that you can focus in on your presentation. And that might be one of the brightest spots of the book, is the presentational aspects of these tricks. Most of the routines are a spin on some sort of classic effect, like the 7 keys to Baldpate, a card calling type routine, pseudo-psychometry, book test, etc. While I wouldn't say this is specifically intended for beginners, I think you'll need to understand a little bit about magic and mental magic before you dive into this. It's definitely within the ability of almost any performer. So what did I like about this book? The variety is pretty great. I like the fact that there's a lot of different types of tricks for a lot of different performance environments, and so you can pick and choose what appeals to you, and you're likely to find something in here. I like the different methods used. They're not all sleight of hand, they're not all memorization, they're not all secret markings. There's a lot of different things to choose from and to enjoy discovering some new methods for you. Also, I always think it's a nice touch when you have routines from another creator other than the person writing the book, which is indeed the case in the back of this, with some of the other contributors there, like Steve Cook, Phedon, Bilek, Romanos, and some others. So with all that said about the material, that it's pretty good and all that, what are some of the things that I think you need to consider that I didn't necessarily care for before you make the decision to purchase this book? I'll start off right off the bat with something that I'll admit is a nitpick. There were a number of misspellings in the book, and a lot of them were names. Absolutely zero impact on learning the material, but just gives the book a little bit more of that raw feel, self-published, as opposed to that more polished and professional feel that you get from some of the bigger publishing names. And while I said that I did like a lot of the presentational aspects, these are different types of routines that you can perform, the scripts themselves aren't all that inspiring. They seem fairly basic, but you do get his full script with each one so that you'll know exactly how you could perform it if you just wanted to start out without putting any of your own work into it. I would also love to have seen more credits. There's definitely inspiration provided at the beginning of the trick where Luca maybe found this original idea and then the things that he did to change it. But honestly, I would have loved to have seen some credits at the end about the different moves that were employed, where the genesis of those was, etc. The last thing on the short list of things I didn't like was the size of the book relative to the price, which brings us forward into the value prop of the book. I always like to discuss how much magic you're getting for the money when I look at and discuss a book. And in this case, the book retails for $80. Now, while I didn't pay for my copy because it was sent to me as a review copy, I always try to put myself in the shoes of the buyer and say, would I feel good about buying this for the price that it's offered? The short answer for me is that I think that this is overpriced for both the size and the production values. I've done a video of the typical expectations you can have for each price point of the magic book world. And in this $80 range, I would expect a much thicker and bigger book and or a hardcover to go along with it. In addition, while there are some photographs to illustrate certain aspects of the tricks, there really aren't that many, so most of this is text-driven narrative to explain how the trick works. That was fully sufficient for me to understand the routines as I was reading through. But again, when you're looking at value, there's not as much put into this book as some of the other books that would retail for around this $80 mark. Now, on the flip side of that, to be fair, there is a 21-minute video that accompanies the book via a QR code or link that's provided so that you can see how some of these routines should be presented. Now, this is not every routine in the book, and it's not being performed for a live audience. It's just a studio top-down shot of mostly the card tricks. However, it does provide some additional value, so I wanted you to be aware of that. You've heard me talk a little bit here about the diversity of the magic in this book, and if you're into diverse magic books, then I recommend you shop with the sponsor of this week's video, Don's Magic and Books. Don carries a ton of different types of magic books: mentalism, kids show magic, card tricks, sleight of hand, self-working, you name it, he has it. And more importantly, he also carries older out-of-print books, which is something that you won't see often online. Yes, he has this incredible variety of material, but one thing that you can always count on is finding fair pricing on his website. I'm going to drop a link down in the description below, but if you go over there and shop with him, you're going to see right away that most of these books, even the rare ones, sell for very fair amounts. And you'll get free shipping if you meet minimum thresholds in the United States. This is one of the reasons why so many of you have told me that you are lifelong fans of Don's, because he really truly believes in helping to keep magic books in circulation for as long as possible. If you're into magic books and you want to support a business that's into them as well, then shop with the sponsor of this week's video, Don's Magic and Books. In terms of the practicality of this material, I have no doubt that Luca has put these pieces in front of audiences, and in reading through them I can see how it would play very well. There are a couple of the close-up pieces that I was inspired to write in my journal to put into my own repertoire, so I think if you do pick this up, you'll end up finding things that you will use. At the end of the day, if you are a collector and you like having magic books, seeing new ideas from people that maybe you haven't read before, then I can selectively recommend this book. I don't think that this book belongs in everyone's library, but if you're a serious collector and or you're a mentalist and you're wanting to check out some different types of material, and maybe you've never seen Luca's books before, then I think this certainly has some interest. What do you think? What are your thoughts about an $80 self-printed book, or what gives you value in a magic book? Sound off down in the comments below. If you've made it this far in the video, I want to thank you for watching and invite you to subscribe, because I think you'll probably get a lot of value out of the videos I publish here on Erudite Magic. As always, my friend, I appreciate you watching, and until next time, keep reading.